good, y'all? It's Naazir. In today's video, we are back and we are finally filming a vintage clothing haul. Now, as you can see in the last few weeks, I have been scheming on a few pieces, I'm not gonna lie. And to make it even better, this isn't even everything behind me. We also will have a second part where I will have to redo the rack just so we can get into the long sleeves. But first, we're gonna go by long sleeves, and I do have it organized by who I picked it up from. So this will go in some type of order, and then towards the end should be things that I ended up grabbing on my own through my own little thrift adventures and things like that. So now that we have all that out of the way, let's start to get into the first bit of the tees. Now the first tee we have up is from Locker Room VA, and you guys have heard them before because I have bought from them in the past. And that is actually this vintage Operation Desert Storm tee. Now, as you can see on the front, it does say Operation Desert Shield, and it also has a number, who is printed by, and this one does say 1990. And then on the back, you do have a few of the countries that were actually involved in the Operation Desert Shield. Now, on the back, it does also say United in the Pursuit of Peace. And as you can see, it does have a bunch of different countries' flags, as I went over before. And I actually picked this one up for a very decent price. I have been looking for one of these for a while now. So when I was back home over my recent school break, I did end up grabbing this one while I was there. Now, let's get into the next tee that I have up. Now, the next tee that I ended up grabbing was this vintage 1 Million Men tee. Now, I did mostly pick it up for the color of the graphic and also just what it says. I like that it was a white tee, but this tee isn't like a full white. It's kind of like a almost eggshell slash like sail color. So I did also dig that as well. And I actually picked this one up from, I believe, 3 Points ATL the other day. So shout out to 3 Points for letting me scoop this tee up from them. And yeah, that's really it on this one. There's no back graphic or anything like that. And let's get into the next tee that we have up. Now the next tee we actually have up is a tee that I actually bought before around the time of Thanksgiving. And when I did end up going back home, I ended up picking up this tee, and it is a vintage Jeff Gordon tee. Now, as you can see, there is a crazy front graphic with the different photos of Jeff Gordon and then the car itself. And as you can see, it also has the number 24. And this one was actually pretty sweet because even though it doesn't have a back graphic, the logo on the front isn't really that cracked. So this is one that I could definitely layer with like a hoodie or a jacket or anything of that sort right now, because down here in Atlanta it is cold, bro, and I do not understand it. So this one was a very, very nice, just simple and clean pickup. And now let's get into the next set of tees. Now the next tee we have up is a certified banger, bro. As you can see, we do have this vintage Taz tee. And you can see, of course, it has Taz with his name on the bike. And then it also has the little T on his little belt buckle. You know, he out here flexing with his own version of BB Simon. And on top of that, you can also see that he sees his own reflection in the water. And I actually ended up picking this one up for a decent price. I believe it was about $40. But this is one of the tees that I've been looking at to cop for a while. And it's definitely a grail to me. So for me to pick this one up while I was back home was definitely greatly appreciated. And now let's get into the next tee. Now the next tee that I do have up is this vintage Jeff Gordon tee. As you can see, the graphic does say 2004 Jeff Gordon, and this one is not really cracked either. It does have hits of just Jeff Gordon himself in the car. This one was actually when he was driving for DuPont and Pepsi. And this one does celebrate 20 years of Hendrick Motorsports from 1984 to 2004. And the reason that I actually ended up picking this one up is also because the graphic does have a little bit of texture to it. So you can kind of, you know, mess around with the graphic and things like that. Unfortunately, this one does not have a back hit. But the price that I got this tee at and the front graphic was just so fire that I had to grab it anyway. And I don't know what it is recently, but I have been grabbing a lot of Jeff Gordon. So this is not the last you're going to see of me copying Jeff Gordon pieces. And with that being said, let's get into the next piece. Now the next set of tees that you guys will see were actually picked up yesterday at the Centerfold ATL event. Now if you guys haven't watched my video on the last time I went and actually vlogged, I will link that down below. But there was a new seller there this time. His name was, I believe, Reaper Vintage. And I ended up grabbing quite a few pieces from him because he had a lot of pieces range from about $5, or not 5 but $3 up to, I think the most I paid for a shirt was $10. So I ended up grabbing a few tees from him, and this is actually the first one. And as you can see, it is the 1996 Atlanta Olympic Games. As you can see, it does say Columbus, Georgia, July 12th, 1996. And I always like grabbing tees like this because if you guys did not know, my birthday is July 13th. So I like anything that usually relates to anywhere around, even like 4th of July most of the time, that relates to my birthday month. And even though this one does have a bit of staining and things like that, it's nothing that will not come out with a little bit of bleach. So I ended up grabbing this one for, I believe, about $5, which is not that bad for a tee like this. And that's really it. Let's get into the next tee. Now the next two I'm actually going over at the same time, just because you guys can clearly see they are almost the same graphic. And that will actually be the vintage Don't Mess With Texas tees. Now I've been looking for one of these for a while just because I always like the graphics on them, because they're always crazy, or they're always like red, white, and blue. And if you guys know Texas, this is like a very big thing. So I actually ended up grabbing these both for, I think, about $3 each, which isn't bad. And the color on them and everything is perfectly aged and washed. And like I said before, they do have about like a stain or two, but nothing that won't come out with bleach, and nothing too crazy. So with that being said, let's get into the next few tees. Now the next tee that I have up is this vintage Air Force Football World Tour tee. As you can see on the front, it does say Air Force Football World Tour 1991. And the back graphic, which was actually the craziest part of the tee, does say Air Force versus Army 1991. And as you can see, the Air Force is making fun of the Army on this, which I believe is funny because having family that is in the military or is in different parts of the military, they're always poking fun at each other. So I've been around this basically my entire life. And I just like the graphic as well because it does mix a lot of green, blue, and yellow, which I never would have thought of combining myself. So I will be wearing this one a lot, and I think this one only cost me $5, so I think it was pretty great on this tee. So with that being said, let's get to the next one. Now the next tee we have up is this vintage 75th Ranger Association tee. I grabbed this one because the front graphic was crazy to me personally, just with the eagle and everything like that. And then it also does have the back hit of Harley Davidson. Now, what a lot of people would not actually know about this t-shirt is this is not a shirt that was printed by Harley Davidson. It was basically a Harley Davidson blank, and the 75th Ranger Association, whoever was in charge of making their tees, actually printed on Harley Davidson tees. Now I did end up grabbing this one for $5 as well, and just with the overall graphic and not really being cracked or anything, this was an amazing pickup that will definitely be making my money back in the future when I do end up to go get rid of it. So without further ado, let's get to the next tee. Now the next tee I have up actually blows my mind, honestly, and it is this vintage 2004 Not For Resale The Punisher video game promo tee. And this was one of the ones that I definitely had to grab. As you can see, the graphic is cracked a bit, but at the bottom it does say, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it does say Marvel THC, or not THC, THQ, and then it says 2004 Marvel. This item is a product for under Marvel license. I don't know why I'm chopping up my words here, but to find this one and to only be able to scoop it up for $5, this definitely blew my mind because this is a crazy tee. And it's a black tee too, so you can wear it all the time. This is literally amazing. Now with that being said, let's get into the next tee that I ended up grabbing. Now the next tee I ended up finding myself, actually, of all the tees, I actually found at an antique mall and ended up tie-dyeing myself. And that is this Toronto World Class City tee. It is super vintage, and as you can see, it does have a bunch of the different flags, and it also has even more flags on the back. And I thought I'd just take it above and beyond from already the crazy tee that it was and tie-dye it myself. So as you can see, we do have hits of green with a bit of bluish purple and a little bit of red just to give it that little bit of extra touch. And I think this actually came out pretty well. For a tee that I only paid $5 for, this was definitely an amazing purchase. Tie-dye, just the whole process on this tee was amazing. So with that being said, let's get into the last few tees. Now the next tee we actually have is I'm going to consider it one of my GRAILED tees, only because I'm trying to more curate my own t-shirt collection this year, and that is this 1992 Marvin The Martian Tee. As you can see, the graphic isn't really cracked or anything like that, and it does also show a few of Marvin the Martian's other stats. Now, other than Taz, Marvin the Martian is one of my favorite Looney Tunes characters, so I had to pick this one up when I saw Marvin the Martian, and on top of that, he has the basketball, which also gives you them Space Jam vibes. And with that being said, let's get into the next tee. Now the last two tees I grabbed, just so y'all know, I had to end it with some bangers, okay? Especially for the t-shirts. So here we have a Dead Stock Texas A&M Aggies t-shirt. As you can see, it has the crazy front graphic on the front. And then on the back, it does also have this same similar crazy graphic. Now this one is actually a dead stock tee, as you can see by the officially licensed product right there. This one was a crazy pickup. It's still brand new. I haven't even popped the tags on it yet, but I will definitely be wearing this one soon. Trust me, I got a whole fit in mind for this for sure. But that's really it on this one. The graphic isn't really cracked or anything like that. So let's get into this final tee before we switch to the long sleeves. Now for this final tee, remember I told y'all that Jeff Gordon was not over yet. We have a vintage Jeff Gordon. As you can see, it says Gordon on the front with the signature rainbow colored NASCAR. And then on top, you can see the back, and it does say going, gone. Now this graphic is barely cracked at all. It basically looks brand new. And just the overall colors and everything on this tee, I'm pretty sure you've seen this t-shirt around, so you already know what's up. It was just about that time that I decided to add this tee to my collection, and I definitely did, and I'm definitely happy to have this shirt in my collection. But this is how we're going to end off the t-shirts. Now let me switch up the rack right quick, and we're going to get right into the long sleeves. Alright, now we are approaching the long sleeves. As you can see behind me, we have a bit of flannels, we have a bit of hoodies, we have some sweatshirts, and then we also have a few pairs of, jeans, sweats, and of course cargo pants, because we cannot live without those at this point. So now that I've gone over what we have behind me, let's actually get into the very first few items. Now the first sweatshirt that we do have is this vintage Walt Disney World New Year's 1999 sweatshirt, and I did grab this for a pretty decent price. As you can see, it does have sayings inside of the numbers as well. And then of course you do have Minnie, Mickey, I don't know why I was about to say Goofy, Mickey, Goofy, and Donald. And of course this is a pretty thick sweatshirt to begin with, and with the graphic as well on it. Even though it does say New Year's, I probably will break this one out like from time to time, just because the graphic is so dope on it that it just needs to be something that you see year round. Now with that being said, let's get into the next item. Now the next sweatshirt that we do have up is this bootleg Guess sweatshirt. Now this one I guess was used by a sorority or something like that, but it is on this vintage crew neck, of course. And the graphic itself also does have a bit of this exaggerated puff print. And I actually grabbed this one for $3, but I actually thought honestly was a steal, because even though it was used for a sorority or something, just because it has the puff print with the Guess question mark and things like that, this would still be a super dope sweatshirt to wear or even layer under other items in your collection. So now with that being said, let's get into the last sweatshirt that we have behind me. Now for the next and final sweatshirt or crew neck that we have, it will just be this vintage Jerseys crew neck. Now there's nothing really too crazy about it. It's just forest green. It's very simple, and I've been trying to grab more essential sweaters and things like that. So this one was definitely a nice little cheap but high quality purchase for my sweatshirt collection. Now with that being said, let's get into the pants that we do have. Now for the next and first pair of pants that we have is actually this pair of vintage Evisu denim. As you can see, they have the early 2000s back tab right here with the signature Evisu logo on the back of the pants. Now I was actually shockingly able to grab this pair of pants for $1, and even though they do fit me perfectly, I will be getting them custom tailored just to go for a little bit of a different look that I'm trying to try with my pants right now. And what better pair to try with than a $1 pair of Evisu denim. Now if you guys don't know about Evisu denim after being worn by Travis Scott is extremely expensive. So for me to find a pair for $1 is pretty extravagant. So let's get into the next item that we do have. Now for the next item, as far as pants go, we do have a pair of this washed gray pair of just cargo pants. There's not really much to say about these. These are not like the regular cotton pairs. They do have a little bit of that more workwear type material to them. I don't exactly know what to call it, I'm sorry. But it's just a regular basic pair of cargos. I grabbed these over the break. I needed a gray pair. Of course, as you guys know, I have almost every single color of the rainbow when it comes to cargos. So that's really it of that I'm really going to say on these. Let's get into the last pair of pants that we do have. Now the last pair of pants we have is actually a pretty extravagant pair, I'm not going to lie. It's just this pair of yellow fleece sweatpants. Now I did also grab these because they also do have the little, you know, tassels at the bottom. But I did grab these for a future video that you guys will be seeing soon. I'm not really going to say too much on it. But I did end up grabbing these at the thrift as long as they're not item. And I'm going to be trying to do a little bit of a challenge with this. So that's all I'm going to say. Stay tuned for that. And let's get into the rest of the items that we have. Now, we are getting to the flannels. Now, I wasn't a big flannel person about a year ago. But now I've started to buy more and more flannels. And this is one of the first ones I ended up grabbing at the thrift. And as you can see, it does have this nice little blue, red, and like sail theme going on. But on top of that, it does also have the little corduroy collar with the little hits of the metal buttons and this little metal zipper right here for the pocket. Now I did pick this one up at the thrift. It was probably the most expensive flannel I ever picked up at the thrift because this one was like 10 bucks. I was like, $10 for a flannel, bro? Y'all bugging. But I ended up grabbing it anyway, and this is actually a pretty perfect piece to layer on top of some of the tees and stuff I have. So I wasn't too mad at it, honestly. And yeah, as you guys can see, it's just crazy, the overall look of it and everything. And it's just one that's very unique that you're not going to see every day. But with that being said, let's get into the next item. Now the next two flannels I have are honestly pretty basic, but I still wanted to show them off. The first one is just a red Eddie Bauer and your little typical red, black, and white theme. And the next one does have a bit of a more different material, but it's basically just a gray, red, and blue flannel as well. Now I have just been trying to grab more essential colors, so these are just two that I grabbed just to wear with simpler outfits and of course things of that sort. So with that being said, let's get into the last few pieces that we do have. Now the next item I have is me trying something new. And this is actually a Sherpa Polar Tech Eddie Bauer fleece. And honestly, since I got it, I've worn it a few times, and I gotta say, I'm not too mad at this little, you know, Sherpa little fleece thing. At first, I used to just despise these because they always made my skin itch and things like that. But if you wash them with the right detergent and stuff like that, they are perfectly fine. And I've honestly been loving this one a lot. As you can see, it is a 3/4 zip with a little bit of pocket right here. And that's really it. It's pretty simple, it's pretty clean, and it's amazing. If you pair it with the right pair of bottoms and shoes, you just have the perfect fit right there. So with that being said, let's get into the next item. Now the next item we have up is something new that I'm trying. And it's actually just this nice little, I guess it's like almost a hybrid of a varsity jacket and a coach's jacket. And I actually thrifted this one, and since I thrifted it, I've been trying new outfits out with it. And I gotta say, I love this jacket. Not only is it one of my favorite colors, but just with the right outfit, it just gives off a certain type of vibe and aesthetic that I think is just really, really cool, and I dig it a lot. Also, having a jacket like this, it allows me to try new styles that will incorporate a jacket like this. And honestly, I've been loving it. And that's really all I have to say about this one. It was definitely a great find for me to find at the thrift for like $3. So yeah, let's get into the last few items. Now the next two items I'm going to go over at the same time, only because they're both college related, with the first one actually being this LSU vintage embroidered hoodie. As you can see, it does have the older LSU Tiger logo, as well as the LSU all embroidered as well. And this one is pretty basic as well, with the gray and things like that. But I am a big fan of LSU, so I try to grab LSU products whenever I can. And then the next one I actually have, which is sitting in my lap, is the Virginia Tech Nike Center Swoosh hoodie. Now, you guys know the hype with the Center Swoosh Nike hoodies, but to find them with the college logo, I honestly think is just a little bit of icing on the cake, just because sometimes you can actually find the school you want while also having a little bit of that Travis Scott hype as well. Now, as you guys can see, this was maroon with the little Virginia Tech embroidered as well as the swoosh. And this one is the nice, almost heavyweight, but not too heavy material. Almost compared to almost a Nike Dry Fit, I would like to say. And this one is just super dope, and you can't go wrong with essential hoodies. So let's get into the next item. Now the next item that I do have up is another vintage jerseys Crewneck. I honestly picked this one up at the thrift, not only because the logo on the front I thought was kind of cool, but also because the back, it does say Rock the Deuce. And I honestly just thought it was crazy because this dragon, bro, with the mountains is wild. So just wearing this one by itself I thought would be pretty sweet. And honestly, it's black, yellow, and white. And you can't go wrong with that. So pretty simple, pretty basic, but also still extremely cool. So now, with all that being said, let's get into the final two pieces to wrap up the video. Now the last hoodie that we actually have up, or second to last because I have one more after this, is this nice crazy colored Gildan hoodie. I'm not going to go too much on this. I did not know that Gildan had this color, and I saw it at the thrift and I grabbed it. I'm incorporating this one into my style now, and I'm definitely excited to see how I incorporate this into my main different styles and how I like to dress. And for the last and final t-shirt, or not t-shirt, not pants, not a flannel, but a hoodie, is this vintage Champion heavyweight sweatshirt. And it is the zip up, and it does of course have the Champion right there, as well as the little Champion hit on the arm as well. And I just thought this one was pretty nice. It's a pretty thick material than your usual Champion sweatshirt, so it is going to keep you warm at all times. That will conclude today's haul. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a lot of pieces, but stay tuned for a few videos that I also have dropping as well. There will still be a PacSun haul as well as a back to school, because by the time you guys see this video, I will probably be just starting school. But I will be trying to drop those within the next few days of this video dropping. Let me know what your favorite item was from this drop down below, and I will catch you guys in the very next video. But wait, before I go, don't forget to subscribe. We are almost at 50 subscribers. I think we are a few away. So let's hit that 50 subscriber mark, y'all. We can do it. We can do it. But that'll be all for me today. It's Naz, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.